Alright, new characters, so you know what that means. It's time to see where they've landed on the tier list. We're here again at Pride1.gg, taking a look at the Neverness to Everness tier list for patch 1.2 part 2, and we're mainly here because of Iroi's arrival in the game. Of course, we're going to be going over how to build them, character synergy, their value in the game, the weapon situation, etc, etc. Also, we'll be taking a look at the other placements of other characters on the list as well. So let's go ahead and get into this thing. Okay, first, the two obvious things that we absolutely knew were going to happen, right? Iroi has come out in the game. She's released as a tier 0 unit and literally the best support in the entire game. I can't believe there was any pushback on that she would be an amazing unit to release and she wouldn't make an immediate impact in this game. And we also have Shinku moving up as a result of her arrival in the game, but not just because of her arrival in the game. Obviously, like, you have all of that going on, the new synergies and whatnot with her in the game, but even Pride1 will admit this performance shift, along with a better understanding of how to play Shinku in a variety of teams, is what bumped her to tier 0. So yeah, they actually placed her at tier 0.5 based on the non-buffed unit, based on the CN unit that released, but by the time we got her on global, we did get some buffs to her as well. Essentially, she should have basically always been here at tier 0, even before Iroi came out and gave her some more synergy, team variety, etc, etc. I think you'd have to be stupid to not realize this was gonna happen and that Iroi wasn't gonna arrive as like an immediate impact and universally strong support for literally like basically every character in every team situation you could possibly have. Is she gonna be the best in slot in every team going forward? Obviously not. There will be other supports coming out, other synergies coming out, etc, etc, but she's basically like kind of like the shorekeeper of the game right now, the Astra Yao of the game right now, or like the Ron Mei of the game right now. She's the first support to come out in the game, and she does have some universal buffing capabilities, and even her weapon has a universal buff attached to it as well. In fact, now knowing what we know and the understanding that in a lot of these combat-oriented gacha games that supports are usually the most important and rarest characters in the game, we might have now just gotten the actual best character in the entire game, considering you can piece them together with basically anybody. The only other character I'd say that might be arguably better is Zero, and I think Zero might still be the best. That being said, could you just walk in there with the Iroi by herself and like solo clear and stuff? Not as easily as these other characters and whatnot. Do you really need the healing that she has? Do you even really need the buffs that she has? Technically, no. So don't get it twisted. It's not like you have to pull her or any of these characters in this game. There's technically no such thing as a must pull right now, especially when technically the lowest ranked DPS in the game is down here at tier 0. I still think this is a crime against humanity and she should be moved up, especially considering how Blossom is one of the best elements. It's like the second best element in the game, I'd say right now. Like, I mean, look at just the top tiers right now here. You see there's 2 for Cosmos. There's 4 for Cosmos, ridiculous, and then there's 2 up here for Anima, and that's like the second place. If you're just going on numbers alone, even when you go down to 0.5, you still see, you know, the Anima synergy up here with Jing Yuan. It's just such a strong element. The fact that Mint, if you don't have Nanali, is basically your go-to. Don't understand why she's still so low. Like, I understand solo performance. She's not as strong, obviously, but when you put her on a team, I don't get it. I really don't get why she isn't up here or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's silly. But yeah, in a game like NTE, to be honest, where the meta isn't like super duper important, the best character in the game for you and your account is the character that you perform with the best, because honestly, just go out there and have some fun, cowboy. Now, we are going to get into the nitty-gritty, fine details of what's going on with Iroi specifically, but let's take a look at the rest of the list and such before we do that. Haniel being moved down to tier 0.5, I don't agree with this, right? Like, I just don't, okay? There's good reasoning for that, but let's go over what they said. Because I can agree with what they said, but I don't agree with the tier 0.5 placement. Let's get into that. Now that we have seen that Hotta is doing with their dedicated support characters, it is hard to place Haniel in the same tier as Iroi and Security. The main reason is that her buff duration is shorter than both of theirs, making her less flexible on teams when playing as her. Additionally, both Iroi and Security have crowd control in their kit, making them useful for more than just buffing. Lastly, we don't have as many characters that can take advantage of Haniel in a team where the other characters aren't strictly better. She remains a strong option if you don't have either of the support characters mentioned, but with the notable differences, she's landing firmly in tier 0.5. This can all be true, but it could also be true that she doesn't have as many best in slot teams anymore. Like Iroi and Sakiri, like usually are better than Haniel in most teams, right? But that doesn't mean that, like, for example, the Chaos team that uses Haniel to be able to create the stain effect doesn't exist anymore or something, right? Just because there are more teams that Iroi and Sakiri are better with doesn't mean that the teams that Haniel was good with disappear for some reason. You see what I'm saying? Like, you literally can't create stain with Iroi or Sakiri. You still need Haniel on that team for Chaos to do that. Haniel's a bit more niche now than before in terms of best in slot options, but that doesn't mean that the other options that they were still best in slot for just go away or something like that. I think that this is a little bit too soon, is essentially what I'm saying. It is fair and it's good for players to get to know that, like, yeah, Haniel's not going to be a tier 0 forever. Like, when one of these gets dropped down, Haniel will be the one that gets dropped down first. There's more restrictions. The buffs do last longer. These are all fair, and Haniel will get dropped down. But I just don't think it's deserving of happening quite yet. That's just my thoughts. Edgar getting bumped up is simply because Iroi's signature weapon came out. And in case you guys didn't know, in their criteria, they do actually allow for the signature arc within their criteria. This is a game that has a lot more pull power. You're able to get signatures and you're able to get characters more easily. So it is totally justifiable to assume that signatures are on these characters. Something to keep in mind, some signatures are better than others, and that could actually change their placement sometimes, right? And in Edgar's case, he does provide more buffing than he did before, which is why they're bringing him up a whole tier. Kind of funny, I was talking about how... And by the way, they removed tier 4. He used to be in tier 4, and there was nobody in tier 3 except for him. Or actually, there was literally nothing. But they brought him up and just removed a tier. All right, now let's take a look at the finer details about Iroi, how to build her, etc., etc. We'll go in the order we normally do, taking a look at the weapon situation first. And we do have a little bit of a weapon situation on our hands. The signature is her best option, and there is like a good noteworthy reason why you might want it, but it's not a build problem. You have a bajillion different options. I guarantee that unless you're a brand new player, you have like one of these weapons that she could use as an other option. You have a fully leveled up one of these. I just guarantee it, okay? Let's take a look at the situation here, right? The main reason why you might want this is because of this buff right here. It's a universal buff for the entire team, okay? But let's get into the whole arc first, right? It's Iroi's signature arc, providing her 570 base attack and 48% attack total. She also provides an anima damage bonus for herself and all damage bonus for the team, making it her best option by far. Or just this buff right here for the team, huge, okay? Because her own personal damage, while noteworthy, isn't anything to write home about. That buff universally for the team, it's going to help your DPSs, right? That's really, really good. It's going to give her some attack, right? It's going to, whenever she heals, give her an anima damage bonus for her, and it gives her a damage bonus again for that team. And it's a 15% damage bonus. Noteworthy. It goes all the way up to 30% when you have the fully ascended version of this weapon. And it resets the duration when triggered again. Effects with the same name do not stack. And of course, every time she heals, which she does all the time, right? So very, very good option. And all of the rest of these, like if you just round up here, we got what, 93% on the second best option here, which is a signature weapon. It's Lacrimosa's signature versus, let's say, the worst option they've decided to show here, 91.63. Less than 1.5% difference between the lowest end A rank option versus literally the second best signature option. You might as well just whichever one of these you got, slap it on her and call it a day, because the difference is really, really not that much. Or come here, take a look at what you got here. Like Fluff of Fleetness, for example, is a battle pass weapon. It is a very good option if you're playing her in solo content or if you're leaving her on the field for a long time, which if you're using her on a team, you really don't want to do. Youthful Fantasy, as they do mention, like breaks are not necessarily as important on her, so this is not necessarily your best, the one you necessarily should choose. Like you shouldn't choose it specifically for the break synergy, right? You have Shiny Days and Clear Skies here. I know many of you are going to have like one of these leveled up, like Clear Skies. If you ever had this as a budget option for Mint, this is probably what you were using. This is totally fine, right? If you don't have her Sig, any of these is good. Now let's take a look at the cartridges here. Speedy Hedgehog, this is the one that even the game will tell you right away is the one you want to use for her, right? This is the one they plug in and play right off the bat. Hopefully you guys were spending your time, you know, farming this up for your Zero already or your Hattori already, whatever, you know, whatever sub DPS units you have or even support units you have that could have been using this. This is definitely the best option. Use this. Just seriously use this one, okay? Now, if you're using her in like solo or something like that, or you really want to make her like a DPS Iroi, which is sure, I'm messing with it too, just for the fun of it, just because, you know, why not, right? The game's easy enough to where you totally could. So I actually like that they include this here and don't just show you, because honestly, if you're using her on a team and you're just trying to use her for optimization, don't even look at this, right? Just look at Speedy Hedgehog, okay? But if you want to have some fun and be stupid and goofy, Fireflies in the Forest on, like, let's say a solo clear of her is definitely viable. You will have to mess around, though, with a unique version of how to build her. All right, now let's take a look at some main stats and substats. Obviously, bro, if you're going Speedy Hedgehog, you don't, like, go with cycle intensity on everything. Cycle intensity, cycle intensity, cycle intensity, okay? For everything. Substat, main stat, everything. Right? If you're going to be going with the DPS version of her, of course, like, yeah, okay. Now you can go. Now you're taking a look at anima damage, crit rate, attack percent. She does want a lot of attack, but like once she gets a certain amount, like you can honestly, like, you don't have to worry about that anymore. She has so many attack sources that I would lean into like damage percent, universal damage percent more. And I would try to get crit rate on every single like substat piece if you can. All right, now let's take a look at some of these like other recommended endgame stats here. We have HP plus 20,000 HP, plus 2,900 attack. She doesn't want to have a lot of attack. Crit rate 30% plus. I think you should be leaning towards like 50% plus. However, I'm glad they actually put that here. I wish they would have put like a parentheses, like explanation as to maybe why you'd want to be okay with 30, because if you're trying to get to 50% crit rate, for example, and you have to give up like cycle intensity anywhere at all, don't do it. Having 30% crit rate, but keeping your cycle intensity is way more important than trying to get to 50 crit rate, okay? Crit damage 70% plus, universal damage 10% plus. That's basically like every character in the game. Cycle intensity 150 plus. Again, I'd be trying to go for higher than that, but that's what the plus is for. But just keep all that in mind, right? The first Iroi charge team option you have here, you see Shinku is going to be your best DPS for that situation. Let's take a look at their reasonings as for why, right? The team structure is where Iroi shines the most because her kit does well with being on field for a short amount of time, right? You can play her like basically any other support, right? It's very easy. You will mainly just ult and skill on her. Again, just support gameplay, right? And set up the main DPS with her passive. Her Blossoms will tick for 13 seconds and Hathor's Remora debuff lasts for 12 seconds, so the global is set up Blossom first, then Remora, and on field the main DPS to get the most out of the charge. Obviously Shinku being your main look at the DPS slot, you know, Hathor and Zero, these slots here are like the main ones you want to keep, and then you're more versatile with your DPS slot, going with someone like Chaos or Cheese or Nanole if you don't have Shinku. Now let's take a look at the Iroi Blossom formation here. Since Iroi's Blossom is roughly 1.4 times the damage of a base Blossom, she benefits more from Jingyuan in this team than Nanole. Despite what many will say, there are setups that you can do where Nanole could be better, right? But anyway, you know, we're splitting hairs here, right? Even still, Nanole would be the main on-field DPS while waiting for Hattori's energy or the rest of the team's cooldowns. Now let's take a look at the Iroi main DPS team. Sheepify all your allies and have Iroi take the wheel at A0. This is mostly a meme team, but it becomes more viable with her A4 and A6. No, I disagree. I don't care. I'm doing this. Like, I'm still messing around with this, okay? This is one reason I love NTE, because the endgame is not like super duper difficult. So for goofballs like me, we can just do stupid dumb challenge runs. We can do stupid dumb solo runs, or we can do DPS Iroi and have a good time. This is why I like NTE, because You can cater to the casuals and the meta slaves at the same time. We will be doing very dumb runs with this team and this character and all these different things. I love it. I love it. So yeah, Iroi has arrived in the game, and she is an extremely powerful character, arguably the best or maybe the most valuable character you could have in the game. Don't forget, she has that effect where when you go around petting like animals in the game, you can get literally rewards. This lasts for 999 uses. You will probably, if you're playing this game for a long time, that might not run out for literally years. That's not the reason to pull the character, obviously, but there's just so many things that she provides to your account that it honestly baffles me that I ever got any pushback when I tried to tell people this is an incredibly valuable character and you may want to consider pulling her. Crazy idea, right? But I mean, come on, guys. Use your brain. Obviously, she's going to be strong, and I don't think there should be too much controversy about her anymore. She's out in the game now, and she can prove herself, right? If you want her, get her. If you don't want her, don't. It's really that simple. Linko is going to be coming out. If her synergies don't work with the teams that you have, Linko's supportive capabilities probably will. So just keep that in mind. You don't have to get this character, and you don't have to get her weapon. Keep in mind that her weapon only works on characters with the same typing as her. You can't just go throwing that weapon around everywhere. Keep that in mind. There's not a lot of support characters that get released in games like this, so you're going to have a very limited amount of teams that could use it, which is kind of funny that Edgar could actually use the dang thing, making him instantly better, but why would you ever use it on him? If you have her weapon, you probably have her, right? So, I don't know. Like, maybe you just want to be funny, or maybe you just want to use low-end low-end characters. Like, sure, go ahead and have a good time. But yeah, that's Iroi. If you like this kind of stuff, consider leaving a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.